Hello, welcome to a new episode of our MBSE podcast. Like many others, we had a little summer break, but now we are back. The Swiss conference will take place next month, on September the 6th in Zurich, in Switzerland, of course. And we take this as an opportunity to talk a little bit about the conference of the local Swiss INCOSE chapter. And our guest is Professor Marco Di Maio, who is one of the organizers of the conference. And welcome, Marco, and please introduce yourself.
Hello. Thanks, Tim and Christian, for inviting me to this podcast. First time on this show, so to say. And things about myself. So I'm currently Professor of Systems Engineering at Ingolstadt University. And I live in Switzerland, which is why I'm part of this amazing event, the SwissEd 21. And I also work for the Swiss Chapter. So, you know, that's the connection to today's podcast. Before I became a professor, I ran my own consultancy for systems engineering for huge projects, mainly fusion research, nuclear fusion research. So the biggest experiments in the world currently run. And the nicest one is, but it's probably not the nicest project, but it's definitely the nicest location. It's in the south of France, where I worked for 6 years, and after that in Oxford for the successor of ITER, which you probably have heard. And yes, I've been involved in INCOSE for about 10 years now. So I know Tim and Christian because I was member of the German chapter for quite a while. And as I said, I now live in Switzerland, so I'm now member of the Swiss chapter and also member of the organizing committee for all sorts of things.
All right. Thank you for your introduction. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you with us. And I guess many of our podcast listeners will see that we have again quite a new series like MBSE events. And so we are talking about SwissEd today. And SwissEd is SwissEd, like I learned before. SwissEd is a systems engineering conference, but what does it stand for?
So SwissEd, it's a mangled word, like a portmanteau. So basically there's Swiss in there, you know, obviously it's the Swiss. And then we have the Systems Engineering Day, is said. So it's, you know, kind of a mix, but basically it's the Swiss Systems Engineering Day. So it's one day every year where the whole of Switzerland plus friends and family, so to say, long-standing friends, come together to Lake Zurich, where we hold it, and have a really nice day where we talk about systems engineering and have lots of very interesting keynotes and presentations.
And who's the organization behind Swiss?
So the organization behind the SwissEd is we didn't call it Swiss because you've been Swissed. So we call it the Swiss Chapter of INCOSE. It's called SSSE, which stands for the Swiss Society of Systems Engineering. And yes, we run it as a bit like the TDSE in Germany. You know, it's our flagship event every year.
So SwissEd should also be written with 3 S, right? If it's Swiss Systems Engineering, then you need 3 S.
It should be. That's why I say it's like a portmanteau and an acronym. I don't know what the actual grammatics, you know, the term for it is, but yes, it should be Swiss SED. But maybe it's like in German where you can't do the 3 S in one word unless there's a T after the third one or something. I can't remember your weird grammar rules in Germany.
How do you spell the abbreviation for the chapter? Is this SSSE or
yes.
C?
I think we say SSSE, yeah.
SSSE.
That was one S too much.
No, it's 3 S and an E. So it's triple SE, we should call it, right? Like IEEE.
Yeah, triple
SE. That's actually that, you know, and then we could make up ideas of what the 3 SEs, you know, it could be 3 SEs then. So I'll put it in the, you know, for the to discuss it when we next have a committee meeting.
All right.
On the agenda.
Yeah. So how do you organize this conference, the SwissEd? Do you have a professional agency or just by volunteers?
Actually, no, we do it. It's all voluntary work. So it's as I said, we have this committee, and we're between 6 and 10 people who run the SSSE, and we also organize the SwissEd. As I say, it's our flagship. So it is actually the event that draws in people. So it's a bit like a marketing thing, as well as our focus event where we talk about new ideas in systems engineering and all that. So all the volunteers who do it really like to work for it, because yes, it's quite a bit of work, but it's also you get to know a lot of people, a lot of players internationally. So some of our sponsors, for example, come from Australia, why ever? But so it's a lot of fun to do it. Plus we meet regularly, and now with COVID we meet remote, but not all of us, because some people work in the same company, so they use one of the offices, and then we have a video conferencing with them, where we are remote and they're there drinking beer, bastards. And no, it's a lot of fun. So we do it as the Swiss chapter, but it's like a circle of friends organizing a party, basically.
Nice.
A bit more professional. Sorry, I don't want to give you the wrong impressions, but it's very professional.
Yeah, but to be at the party, it costs money. So as a participant, I have to, of course, pay a registration fee. Do you know how much is it? And is there a discount for INCOSE members?
Yeah, so you don't really pay money. It's a small fee compared to other conferences, definitely. I think it's about 100 francs or 120 or something. It's not that much. And then there is a discount definitely for INCOSE members. I'm I'm not the secretary of the. I don't know the actual price, but you can find them on the registration site. But it's definitely. I wouldn't even call it a fee, because you get a lot for it. It's basically the entrance to a really nice venue. Don't know. I think we might talk about the venue later, but the venue is on Lake Zurich. It's the casino of Zurich. And so it's an amazing venue with a really nice view. And we have, I think, you might want to correct me, but I've been to lots of systems engineering conferences all over the world. And I think we have the best catering. So you get a really nice lunch buffet, and we always have an apéro, and you can then have it on the terrace, right? Basically sitting on a balcony overlooking Lake Zurich, and good wine and even good beer.
And always good weather. So
fingers crossed this year, right? We haven't had a summer in Switzerland, and with lots of hail. So yeah, fingers crossed. But yes, it's normally a really nice day.
Okay. So the Swiss chapter is quite young, but you already have quite a history in SwissEd. So when was it held the first time?
So the first SwissEd was the same year when the Swiss chapter was founded, 2014. So this is the 8th edition of it coming up. And yes, we've held it every year, even last year with the more. Although in September it eased a lot, so we held it as a hybrid conference, as we will this year. So we haven't lapsed yet, 8 years in a row, and it's been a very varied conference with lots of nice contributions from a nice cross section of the people that you would expect at a systems engineering conference.
Yeah, I remember it last year. That was great. It was my only in-person event last year, so in the second half of last year. I was very surprised. It was very strange to travel again and to meet people.
Yes, and we had within 2 or 3 weeks, we had the requirements engineering conference, the IEEE one, that was in Zurich, and that was also an in-person event at the university, and then SwissEd, yes, so hybrid event. But you were there, Tim, and Christian, you were there as well, right? So
no, last year I skipped.
Last year you skipped. See, I always see your face when I come in. Like that, he always is like the first person you see at SwissEd. Sorry. Yes, but so we had it in a nice personal event, and it's as I say, the content is really varied, and it's probably less than 60% is Swiss contributors. Yeah, it's probably less than 50% even Swiss contribution. So we get them from all over the world, speakers.
And Who were the speakers so in the past? Can you name a few of them?
Yes, we had a lot of the high caliber ones. So the keynotes alone is like the who's who of systems engineering. So we had Olivier Devecq, who runs the systems engineering class at MIT. We had Larry Leifer, who's kind of he's not the inventor of design thinking, but he's definitely one of the icons of design thinking from Stanford University. We have Dave Snowden, who invented the Canavin framework for, what is it?
Complexity.
Chaos, complexity. Yeah. I couldn't remember simple. I think he's got different names, but it's simple. It's complicated, complex, and chaotic, and then you have this really nice fault in the middle, so where you can basically go jump into chaos from any of the four. So that was one of the keynotes that stand out in my head, because it was the first time I saw Dave, and then I immediately booked his class. He came to Zurich. I think he stayed in Zurich. I think it was 2 weeks later or so. And we had yourself, Tim.
Yeah.
You're not only a regular contributor, but also we had you as a keynote. And David Long, everybody who knows INCOSE knows probably David Long from Vitec. And John Holt, I don't know, was it last time you had him on the podcast? But you definitely had him on your podcast.
Yes. And after that, Germany lost against UK in the soccer championship.
As they should.
The man with the hat.
Oh, was it his? For everyone who doesn't know John, so he's the magician systems engineer, and so he's got this black hat, and he's always dressed in black, and then he always claims to give a presentation in one slide, but it's heavily animated. Yeah, it's a lot of good fun. Last year we also had Michael Lurick. He's also one of the design thinkers. Yeah, so it's a really nice selection.
And, how do you get all these people? So how do you get in contact with Larry Leifer? Or?
Well, they contact us. They contact us. No.
The Hollywood principle.
I think. And this, I think it's also the same when I was in GFSE. It kind of is all about networking, and then these contacts just emerge in a way. So it's like an emergent behavior, like in systems engineering anyway. So I know that Mike Johnson, who's a household name in the Swiss chapter, not only, but everybody who knows about or is interested in systems engineering in Switzerland would know Mike Johnson. And he contributed to the design thinking Playbook, which is the famous one by Larry and Michael. And so I'm guessing that was, where this connection came from. Olivier Devecq, also, he is not only at MIT, but he's also, the class runs at MIT and EPFL at the same time. So EPFL is in Lausanne, right? So that is also a Swiss connection. And I think he's actually from ETH Zurich. So, that's all like Dave and Mike work together. So that's where Dave Snowden probably came from. Well, Tim, we all know you. So yes, and David Long is also one of the people who likes to come to Europe and help us presenting stuff. And John, obviously, he's everywhere. So. Right.
Yeah, so you already told us about the venue, which I can confirm, which is really nice. And so if somebody chooses to be part of SwissEd, what can you expect? How does the work, the conference day work?
Well, I think I already hinted at it. So it is, and it has been before I moved to Switzerland. It is my favorite systems engineering conference because it's not as stiff as any of the IEEE ones. So it's not about publication. It's not about being seen and showing off and look at my research. So it's less presenting research. It's more presenting experience and talk about it. So it's a really relaxed atmosphere. I think that's my main point. And then because it's so relaxed and because the catering is so nice and most people drink wine at lunch, everybody's really approachable. So as I said, I met Dave. Well, I saw Dave in that keynote he gave, Dave Snowden. And then I just talked to him and he told me, I'm giving this class. If you want to come, join us. So it's really nice. You meet all these people that you've heard of or seen YouTube videos of, or read papers by, and they're there, and you can just talk to them, and everybody is approachable and really enjoys being approached. And then the lunch break is considerable. I think, is it an hour and a half or an hour? It's definitely an hour. And then you sit on the balcony, and the people walk around and change tables, and so you can talk to a lot of people, and a nice cross section of industries. Obviously, this being Switzerland, we have a lot of medtech and emerging industries for systems engineering, and they all of them have interesting stories to tell. So it's really nice. And afterwards, we have this apéro, which I know we have it at conferences that run over 2 days or something. We have this icebreaker, maybe, but there it's just the people who don't want to leave don't leave, right? They stay there, and we have some drinks and we talk more. And I think I normally stay until the last train home.
Wow.
So which is in Zurich, which is after midnight, right? Or maybe just before midnight. Yeah, because you ask some people, you want to join us for dinner, and then we have a dinner downstairs. There's a restaurant, and who wants to stay stays, and then we eat something and talk even more about systems engineering. But this is mostly about anecdotes from from other system engineering events. So it's really nice.
Maybe I should change my travel plan, so I always have to leave in the evening then at 6 or 7 to catch the last plane back. So
I have a nice sofa, Tim. I need to stay, and Ose is not paying for it.
I just wanted to say, it's just because in Zurich the prices are enormous.
And that's the other thing, right? Everything is extortionately expensive in Switzerland, but Swiss Ed isn't.
Yeah.
So for the price of a Swiss Ed, you get 3 yogurts in a supermarket. So
it's not a commercial conference, right? It's you must cover the costs and
Yes, so we have sponsors, and obviously we're very grateful to all the sponsors that we have, because without them we couldn't run it. And they also come, as I said, they come from all over the place, and also from different industries. We have kind of everything there, and the sponsors obviously they get nice visibility. So if anybody out there wants to become our sponsor this year, silver sponsorship only costs 1,000 francs. Which is hardly anything in euros. Probably 1,000 euros now. But yes, so you get really nice visibility there, and obviously entrance for some of your people covered.
Yeah, you already mentioned that it's in Zurich at the lake, and it's possible to join it virtually again. Yes, and how does it work? So how can I join an in-person conference virtually?
We stream all the presentations. So we have 3 streams, and you can basically just log on to the stream and follow it. But everybody remote can also ask questions. So they will be either unmuted or the questions. I can't remember how we did it actually. I think some of the questions were then relayed by a person at the conference and asked there. That worked really well last time. So I thought the virtual participants were even more awake than they didn't have the wine at lunch, right? So.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe some of our listeners are wondering themselves that why are you talking about a Swiss engineering conference? And I think the answer is that your conference language is English, but why is a Swiss engineering day in English?
Many reasons. As you know, Switzerland has 4 official languages, right? So there isn't the one, although it's always in Zurich, or always has been in Zurich at least, which is the German-speaking part of Switzerland. You could say it could be also a German-speaking conference, but the atmosphere, Zurich is a very international place, as you all know. Then, as I say, we have French, Italian, and I don't know how you say it in English, Retro-Romanish. So there's another language in Switzerland. They're the official languages. So picking one would be wrong. It's So picking two, French and German, or so, the Italians wouldn't find that funny. So English is like the compromise. But it's more than that, because also all our chapter work, although most of us are German speakers, we speak English. And I think systems engineering, lends itself to speaking it or to discussing it in English. So a lot of the terms are only known in English, or only exist, or only make sense in English. And then in the other languages, you might have some false friends, so people don't understand. And one of the main things you have to get right in systems engineering is your glossary. Everybody has to use the same terms with the same meaning, and that's easier in English. So yes, we speak English at all our committee meetings. So the one we had on Tuesday, I think we were only German speakers, native Germans, and we still discussed it in English, because then you write the minutes, if you want to write the minutes of that. And then other people, we also have Italians, we have English people on the committee, then we then have to translate everything. So it's easier to talk English.
Yeah. Well, it's in 3 weeks or so, right? Yeah. And who are the keynote speakers this year?
Not even 2.5. So, who are the keynote speakers? Yeah. So, we have Lars from Daisy, Lars Hagge. If you don't know him, so I've heard him talk. I don't know how many years ago, but he's been invited back then to the Fusion community, and he's a wizard on various fields and on various topics, and he's going to talk about PLM-driven systems engineering as a service, which I'm really much looking forward to, because as Tim and Christian know, half of my brain is also talking about organizing information in systems engineering. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And the other one is also really well known, definitely in the Swiss chapter. So Alessandro Goldka, he's currently working at Skoltech in Moscow. And he's going to talk about accelerating product development. And he's already asking the question, is the V model still the answer? I think it's called, or still up, is it still up to date or topical? So that's going to be more, the theoretical, I'm guessing, but then knowing him and knowing Skoltech, it's probably still very interesting for all us practitioners as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to those two.
Yeah, I already had a look in the agenda, and I saw a very interesting thing. You have a track called Climate, and you, Tim, and Marco, you have together also one session in it. So that sounds very interesting to me, to apply systems engineering to the climate change. And what can you expect from that?
So the basic idea is that both Tim and I, independently from one another, we both got engaged in not tackling climate change, because obviously that takes a lot, but just getting to start being part of a movement, or trying to help with or bring in our expertise to the various problems. And when you think about climate change, it's a very complex problem. You have obviously the complexity of weather or climate, right? So obviously they're not the same, but it is a complex system on many levels. You have the system that is the Earth and its atmosphere, which is another system, or definitely closely linked, with all these pockets of, for example, carbon on Earth somewhere hidden. Some are melting now, so it's very complex. The time aspect in this, so the behavior changes all the time, and all of the problem definitions that you read as a systems engineer, you would always go, oh, that's a problem that we would love as systems engineers. That's really our realm where we discuss things. So that's one thing. But you also have all the social aspects. Why are there still some climate deniers, and how can you convince them? So that's also complex to understand how you can tackle it on this level, because you need like the whole world to come together. And then last not least, you have all these models that try to predict what is going to happen. And then modeling is a big part of Tim's and my work. We love modeling, MBSE, and bringing all these things together and just discuss it and try to ignite the systems engineering community and say, look, we can be, if not key, but we can definitely be an important contribution or make an important contribution towards tackling climate change. I think that's how the idea was born, and that will be 3 presentations and a workshop on climate or related topics. And yeah, it's the first time we do this in any systems engineering conference, as far as I know. And we hope it catches on, and then that's the systems engineering community as a whole gets engaged and helps the world to tackle this amazing problem.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
I think it was 10 years ago or so when the INCOSE symposium was in the Netherlands. They called it Systems Engineering for the Planet. And so the mission of this conference. And that was very inspiring. So it was great. And it was one of the first conferences or INCOSE conferences I was. And so we could definitely do something to tackle systems, the climate change. So the systems engineering discipline is perfect for that, as well as systems thinking. And speaking of playbooks, there's a playbook, the Systems Thinking Playbook. I think that's the name. Playbook seems to be a very famous name for books. But there's also a book, the Systems Thinking Playbook for climate change or so.
Really?
Yeah, there you learn systems thinking, patterns, methods, how to apply them to climate change, or to better understand the climate change.
All right, you have to send me the link. Sounds really interesting.
And we will do an exercise from this playbook on the conference.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Very small.
Great. Yeah, we can look it up and maybe we can link it in the show notes.
Yeah, I have it here somewhere. I don't know. Somewhere. Too many books on my desktop.
Yeah. I know that. Too many books to read. And I recently saw that we have a live comment here from Stefan Roth, who makes a great suggestion. He says, why not extending the conference by something like a bar camp or with open spaces on the next day?
Very good idea. So what we do have, not this year, but we used to have like a World Cafe, which is a bit like that. We know where you can discuss ideas. But extending the conference, I think we like to keep it to the one day, but obviously we wouldn't mind any satellites. So if anybody wanted to organize a satellite conference and just, it happens to be the day after, that would be great. So Stefan, come forward to it. You can sleep on my couch.
How many couches do you have?
Still the one. Tim and Stefan, I'm sure you don't mind sharing.
Yes. Yeah, then we do an MBSE bar camp also the next day.
Sure. Next year.
Yeah. Okay, so, well, what else do you do besides Swiss organizations?
What else do I do? So I'm a father of 4-year-olds, so I'm trying to teach them all the technology things so that they can take over at some point, because I'm not as young as I sound. As a professor, I'm teaching systems engineering, and I also run some projects with the students, and I always use systems engineering for the projects, and I try to link them to some real problems in the world that are better approached with systems engineering. So it's either climate change. So this semester we worked on offshore wind with a UK startup who put the blades of the turbine basically on the sea, so they're not standing up. They're like the axis is vertical rather than horizontal. So that was really interesting, and I always try to learn when I teach. So this is kind of my approach. And the other thing we do a lot, or I'm involved in a lot, is working with charities in Africa who do mobility devices. They make mobility devices for disadvantaged children. So in sub-Saharan Africa, really rural, low income, low resource areas. So that's kind of it's not a hobby, clearly, but it feels like a hobby because, you're talking a lot to people who try to do good things, and that's a lot of fun. And then you can bring in some systems engineering ideas. My hobby is, as I mentioned before, is trying to bring proper information management into the systems engineering world. So I think I'm convinced systems engineering needs really well-structured information, and as we have our experts on SysML here in the room, and they're working on SysML 2, who's promising to bring this into the world of MBSE. I know that I'm talking to the right people there. So I really like to understand or to build models that normal engineers can also understand, and that's like my hobby within systems engineering.
So you should have joined the SysML v2 project. No, that would be great. But now we are on the final run. You're almost done.
Almost done. And no, but what I've heard about it, it really sounds like the ideas. I mean, to our listeners, so Christian, Tim, and I, we know each other from the German chapter, and we've come to the workshop of the German chapter where we've been discussing this for at least 7-8 years now. And I think we all had the same goal, at least. This is where we need to take MBSE, and I'm grateful that you've done it. I didn't have the time. Sorry.
No problem.
So yes, and apart from that, my real favorite hobby is Fischertechnik. So I don't know if any non-Germans have heard of Fischer. It still exists, and my kids love it, and we're building models. So I don't know. I have probably one of the largest collections of Fischertechnik in Germany, and yes, we can build some really nice models to explain basic things, and it's brilliant. And I wanted to bring it into teaching, but it's so difficult to beat Lego. So what's the robot called? The Lego robot? I can't. It's not Minecraft.
Not Minecraft.
Like this, but, Mindstorm.
Mindstorm.
Yeah. So they're basically, they've basically taken over the university world, and although the Fischertechnik obviously is a much better system, and the systems engineer should understand that it is a system, whereas Lego is just components who can do things. But okay, no.
Stefan asks if you have the 5,000 euros Industry 4.0 factory from Fischertechnik.
No, I haven't. My dean didn't want to give it to me. No. In fairness, no, I didn't ask for it. But I've seen it. I've seen. I worked with RWTH Aachen on digital twins to connect it to MBSE, and they have all the Fischertechnik kits there for teaching. So I was quite impressed.
Yeah, we were thinking about buying it, but then we stayed also at Lego.
Yeah, no, 5,000 euros is a lot of money. You can buy 5 silver sponsorships for that.
Yeah, that would also be a good thing to do.
Maybe we should ask Fischertechnik to do it and sponsor us in, material contribution.
Good idea.
Yeah, I'll contact them.
All right. So I would say we are more or less through. We now know what is going on in September in Zurich.
Yeah, do come. Just do come. It is the best conference.
You know what? So I have vacation in this time, and we still did not book anything. So if we would not book until then, maybe I will catch the car and come over.
Yes. Plus, there's no restrictions in Switzerland, or not. It's not as many as in Germany, at least. And we've all been vaccinated, more or less, in Switzerland. So it's a safe place to travel to, and you can see the mountains, the glaciers, with the snow from the lakeside venue. So it's brilliant destination.
And you have a couch for Christian.
And I have a couch, not for his dog. Maybe I'm.
No, the dog stays at home in that.
No, we like dogs actually. But Yes, so do come over and let me know, and then we can find you some amazing things to do with a family around Lake Zurich. It's a really nice destination.
All right.
Yeah, so, well, what's our next topic, Christian?
Yeah, according to my mind, we will talk about our first method, and we will talk about Sysmod, invented by Tim and others. And yes, so as we have the expert here, we take Sysmod as the first method. And yeah, we, like so often, don't have a date yet.
Yes.
But it will.
We needed it.
But it will come within the next weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, we need time for the date. That's the issue.
Is there going to be a Sysmod 2.0 when SysML changes?
Yeah, probably. It would be interesting to see what's the impact of SysML v2 on Sysmod. So Sysmod is more or less independent of the language, but not 100% independent. I would say there's always an interdependency, and a new language enables new features. And well,
M1 library for Sysmod or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let me know. I'll join the podcast.
Yes. Yeah, we will talk about that.
And if you need other methodologies, I can, find your people.
Sure. Yeah.
Great.
And there's a good framework to evaluate methodologies, but that's also a good topic.
We should talk about it too.
Yes, really. The FEMP. Okay.
All right.
You would like to close, right, Christian?
Okay.
We can go on talking, but I think after 40 minutes, some of our listeners are also tired because it was a long day. We have after 8 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah, we're already in apero mode.
At least here in Central Europe, it's that time.
Yes.
Then let me say thank you for inviting me. It's been a great pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And well, the famous last word is, Christian, do not forget.
Trust us. We are systems
engineers.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.